It's update day. Update, just a little news around the league as we wrap things up. No big stories. Well, one big story. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Or the elephant hiding in Beaverton, Oregon at the Nike campus away from his entire team. I'm pushing P, folks. I'm sorry, I kid. Sometimes the jokes just write themselves. You know what I mean? I'm pushing pie, he says. I'm pushing pie. Somebody's pushing pie on time. Stop. This is how bad things have gotten in New Orleans. Zion Williamson, nowhere to be found, has dominated post-All-Star break, which is ironic because last year he was dominating in the post during the All-Star game. How far we've come. Things have gone off the rails. What an absolute force he was last year, and now he is just crickets. Nowhere, no one sees him, no one knows what's going on, definitely not on the floor. But not good for the Pelicans, not good for the NBA, and damn sure not good for Zion because he is dominating the news in the worst possible way. So let's give a quick little timeline, quick little update on what happened, shall we? Randomly, after the last game before the All-Star break, CJ McCollum, former Portland Trailblazer, new New Orleans Pelicans, was answering questions about his new team. When someone asked him, hey, so, how have your conversations been with Zion? And he's like, I haven't talked to Zion yet. Nope, not a peep. Nothing from Zion. And they go, do you know when he's going to come back? And CJ goes, nope. I know about as much as you do right now. We have not connected, but I am going to get to the bottom of it. Pause. Hold on. Let me take a drink and get my popcorn out. Because, first of all, CJ McCollum is not your normal, everyday teammate, besides the fact that he gets paid $30 million. CJ McCollum, for folks who don't remember this, because these aren't things that just come up to the top of the forefront of your cerebellum, he is the head of the NBA Players Association. CJ McCollum is the new Chris Paul. Excuse me, and you haven't spoken to the NBPA president yet? And your new teammate, who they forced to trade, or not forced to trade, but they made a trade in a way that people are a little sus on just to pair you with someone who's a dominant scorer? You haven't spoken out to him? No. Literally the most important teammate Zion might ever have. Indication how fractured, since he's fractured his metatarsal, how fractured his relationship is with the Pels that he wouldn't even reach out and say, yo, what's up? Welcome to New Orleans. Let me show you my favorite Creole spots. Smoothie King Arena, let me show you where all the smoothies are at. And that's just the beginning because JJ Reddick, who has an axe to grind with the Pelicans, went on ESPN and then was like, I'm going to throw some gasoline on this. This is what he said.
There's a general sort of decorum of behavior that you should apply as a teammate. Look, I wasn't the best player on any team I was on. But if there was a buyout possibility, if there was a trade possibility, I would always reach out to team. I called Ersan Ilyasova. I called Marco. I called Wes Matthews trying to get him to come to Philly. This just shows a complete lack of investment in your team, in the organization, in the city. I get that he's hurt and away from the team, but you just traded for one of the 50 best players in the league, a guy that's supposed to be paired with you. Reach out and say hello. This is a pattern of behavior with Zion that we are seeing again and again. And look, I was his teammate. I can describe him as a detached teammate. That is an accurate statement. This is basic level of humanity being a teammate. Send a text to a guy when he gets traded to your team. That is just normal behavior. That's the bar minimum that you have to do. And the Pelicans yesterday sent out an email for
I think it's bare minimum. Keep going.
season tickets for next year. Guess who wasn't in the email? Whose name was not in the email? Zion's. Like, what the heck is going on in New Orleans, Stephen A?
So much to unpack there. When you've got JJ Reddick, who shares an agent with Zion Williamson, Zion's been on his podcast at least once, sharing personal details of his vulnerability in his life. They're friends. They're friendly. This is not someone who has an axe to grind with Zion. And when JJ Reddick, one of the nicest dudes in the league, who was Zion's teammate, says, I can personally describe Zion as a detached teammate, you have to say, alert, alert, red alert. This is not a test. Sound the alarms. Break the glass. Something is wrong. He then says, Zion's not even on the season ticket pamphlet email? What? Excuse me? All right, then he goes on later on First Take and says this.
I want to hammer home this point, and this goes for anybody in professional sports. If you play a team sport, you have a responsibility as an athlete to be fully invested. You have to be fully invested in your body, in your work, and in your teammates. That's part of the job description. So to me, I know he's hurt, and I know he's away from the team. There's still a responsibility to just be a good teammate. That's part of it. It's unprofessional, and I don't want to just belabor that, but it is unprofessional. And I would say
there's a responsibility that you have as an athlete when you play a sport to be fully invested in your body. You notice he said that first, the body part. He did say that, the body part first. He said that for a reason. Fully invested in your body, fully invested in your work, and fully invested in your teammates. That is your responsibility, and we have not seen that from Zion. You can damn well know that that is a shot at Zion's lack of conditioning, his locker room demeanor, and he admitted he had to call out Zion in front of the entire team his rookie year. Yes, he's been amazing when he's been on the court, 100%. He's amazing to watch. There's no one that can do what he does on a basketball court. But as a teammate, there's a pattern of behavior. As a fully invested individual in New Orleans, there's a pattern of behavior. This is worrisome. I'm worried. Are you worried? I've been worried. Folks, I've been worried since August. I've been worried since whenever their little media availability, when they slid in that Zion had a random surgery that they didn't know about. Like, ever since then, I'm like, ears pricking up. Scooby, does anybody else see this? No. And here we are. He hasn't played a goddamn game yet. And then that's when shit literally hit the fan. Everybody began to weigh in. Ba-doom-tsh. On the Zion drama. Many of them seemingly shocked about the incredible disconnect between Zion and the Pels front office and his teammates. Of course, I could point out, I've been talking about this since the beginning of the season, but that would be unseemly. That would be rude. I could even say that I predicted he wouldn't play a single game this season. But that would be uncouth. That would be very uncouth. It would also be, what's that word? The truth. It would also be the truth. But, we're not here to talk about all the things that I predicted that nobody agreed with me on, and now here we are in the brink of disaster. But it's okay. It's fine. It's just me yelling at clouds all by myself until the world falls down around me. It's okay, no worries. Piece after piece now breaking on the Picayune Tribune paywall that I took a lot of time getting past without paying. The NOLA took a lot of time getting past that article's paywall as well today. For you, listeners, for you. I'm not paying $1 for these guys. I just will not. Headlines like, report, Zion Williamson's detachment from Pelicans stems from lack of trust, quote unquote, lack of trust. we can't even trust Zion on the offseason to be by himself alone with a plate of donuts. Like, the lack of trust goes both ways here. It goes both ways. Listen, like, I promise you, I didn't say that, but that is what sources tell me. Things are being said that right now. Trust. We can't trust. The trust is, listen, he had a surgery without telling the team. The trust issues go both ways here. They go both ways. Even Pelicans podcast hosts can't even confidently say that they think Zion will be in a Pelicans jersey next year. He's not on an expiring deal right now. And you can't tell me whether by October of 2022, whether Zion's going to be rocking a Pelicans jersey or not. You think maybe or not? No. That's how bad it is? Or New Orleans? And now everybody is calling him out. Being like, no, hey, Zion, we need you to pledge your allegiance to the New Orleans flag. We need that. There's speculation. Is Zion looking for real estate in New York City? Maybe he already has an apartment on the Upper West Side. So what's actually happening? That's the question. 1, Zion's injury has made his future very, very stressful as a subject matter for the Pelicans organization, but also stressful in general. If Zion's out for the year, which it certainly seems like he will be, he will have played, just here we go, stick with me here because it's going to get kind of ugly when we do this math. Zion will have played 85 games total in his first 3 seasons. Do you know who else was drafted number 1 overall and played 82 games in his first 3 years? Greg Oden. Yep, it is. Guess who else went number 1 overall and played 119 games in his first 3 years? Sam Bowie. Yeah, him. So it's not outrageous to make those kind of comparisons. Those bust comparisons that people like me have made possibly in the past and got ripped up by Richard Jefferson. It's no problem, but like those comparisons are in fact valid because both Bowie and Oden, had they remained healthy, almost certainly would have been all-star guys. There was nobody who's debating or questioning their skill level, athleticism, or their potential. But the reason that they went down, the reason that they were bust was mostly because of genetics. Microfractures for Oden, strength and power and torque on his body and his knees because of his size, really. And leg issues in the case of Sam Bowie that went for a long, long time span. The difference with Zion, though, is that Zion is in control. A lot of these issues are self-inflicted, especially those that revolve around his weight. He's showing up way too heavy, and that is on him. As Christian Clark at the NOLA, behind that paywall I told you about, noted, Williamson frequently showed up late to rehab work during his rookie season. Pause. Red flag. His unique body type makes it imperative for him to diet and train rigorously, which he has failed to do since being drafted by the organization. He showed up to training camp in September well above 300 pounds, sources say. Ideally, one team source says Williamson should or would play games at 265 pounds. That's not good. Some reports say that Williamson weighed as much as 330 pounds during his rehab. Math school. So 265, carry the 1, 330. That's 55 pounds overweight here. And we're not talking just muscle, right? I don't think it's just muscle, right? We know that. And I'm not fat shaming. We do not fat shame or muscle shame on the heat check. I will not. But Zion is a big guy, huge, powerful human being when he's completely healthy. And as Skip Bayless was told, this is a guy who loves nothing more, Zion. This is obvious logic, but I'm just going to give you the quote anyway. Zion is a guy who loves nothing more than, quote, eating whole pizzas washed down with high sugar soft drinks. This is a guy who is like if Embiid was unhinged, right? As if Embiid decided, you know what? Goodbye, cruel world. It's just me and my Shirley Temples. You know? That's Zion right now. And to make matters worse, one of the reasons cited for the rift between the Pels front office and the Zion camp is really how cautious the Pelicans front office and training staff has been with his rehab. From the bubble to last year to the most recent foot issues, apparently a lot of trust has broken down between them because of that thing. Can you fucking blame them? Excuse me. You're always heavy, overweight, you're always getting hurt, and then you never slim down and get healthy again. So why wouldn't we be cautiously pessimistic? Like, I don't know. Like, honestly, it's like, listen, this is a problem here. Zion's distrust of David Griffin is also apparently playing a role, with NOLA reporting that Williamson and his camp don't trust Griffin to be truthful. From throwing Alvin, I mean, he's not, but neither are you. From throwing Alvin Gentry under the bus to hiring Stan Van Gundy, a coach so unpopular in New Orleans, Josh Hart said that playing for him destroyed his love for basketball. Yes. To screwing over JJ Reddick and saying he was going to send him to either Brooklyn or New York or Philly so that he could be closer to his family, and then he sent him to Dallas, who shares an agent with Zion, as I earlier mentioned. And there are all of those things, a lot of reasons not to trust Griffin and the Pels if you're Zion. Plus the fact that routinely this front office, this ownership group, doesn't like to pay they've never paid the luxury tax. So we don't really know what their level of commitment is to winning. Just when the Zion news was reaching a boiling point, Zion speaks. Zion finally speaks out. Yes, folks. But it was on an Instagram group chat with random strangers that then ended up getting posted on the internet to protect and defend Zion. That's completely irrelevant. Just keep that in mind, though. He said this, quote, "I don't know why everyone thinks that I'm leaving. Everyone that knows me knows I love the city of New Orleans. I'll be back soon in due time. Black fist devil emoji." Notice that he did not mention the actual New Orleans Pelicans. He did not whatsoever, which is probably a shot at the team for sending out, I don't know, those season ticket renewal emails featuring Brandon Ingram, Jonas Valanciunas, CJ McCollum, and chirp, 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 chirp. No Zion. No Zion. Not even a mention of Zion. Imagine the Portland Trailblazers putting out season ticket emails. Hey, 2022, 2023 season tickets are here. It's time. Down in the Rose City, it's Yusuf Nurkic and Anthony Simons, Nasir Little, and no one. And there's like no mention of Dame. That would be absolutely bonkers. They took this man number 1 overall. Do we mention Nurkic in there? Yeah. Also, Cody Zeller here. We've got Cody Zeller. Anybody want season tickets? So how does it work out? That's the question. Like, what do we make of all of this? When Pelicans insiders can't decipher whether Zion's going to be there in a Pels uniform next year, we've got 4 big questions on our hands. 1, what's the status of Zion's health? We don't know. We got to figure that out. That needs to be seen. That needs to be deciphered. That needs to happen now. Is the relationship between the Pelicans and Zion fixable? Is it actually fractured? All things we need to find out. The most important question that we don't even know yet is, do the Pelicans actually want to re-sign on an extension a guy who's 320 pounds, who won't communicate with the front office, who will not get in shape, who will not take his rehab seriously, who won't play defense, is standoffish to new teammates, and has been this way since his rookie season? I don't know if that's a risk I'm willing to take if I'm a very cheap ownership group who's never overspent in the history of the history. Like, you're talking about a group that treated Chris Paul foul, and Chris Paul was a consummate pro. Like, this Zion thing, I don't know, man. I don't know. And then 4, if New Orleans won't do it, or if Zion doesn't want to be there, because that's also a big question mark. Does Zion actually want to be in New Orleans? If it's not New Orleans, who's going to roll the dice for Zion? I've got a final word to anyone living in New York City who might be thinking about pushing play on that. Worldwide West from the top of your Dracoff Tower. Word to the wise to Worldwide West. Proceed, sir, with caution.